Hey y'all, welcome back. It's me, Mama King, the Divine Oracle. We're back for another reading of The Great Cosmic Mother, Rediscovering the Religion of the Earth. Okay, so today I'm going to read starting from page 425 to, where'd it go to? 431. Respell the World. Witches cast spells, not to do evil, but to promote changes of consciousness. Witches cast spells as acts of redefinition. Redefinition. Yeah, redefining. To respell the world means to redefine the root of our being. It means to redefine us and therefore change us by returning us to our original consciousness of magical evolutionary processes. This consciousness is within us, in our biology, and in our dreams. It works on subliminal levels, whether or not we are aware of it, because it is the energy of life and imagination. When we are aware of it, it works for us as the energy of destiny, and it is powerful, with the genuine power of biological life and cosmic imagination. Perhaps ancient women had access to psychic and physical powers we have forgotten. Ancient people of both sexes, living under the Stone Age Great Mother, like those remaining of Earth's primal people today, had magical powers of telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, teletransportation, of firewalking and shape changing, of healing and building, not because such powers were pagan superstitions or of the devil, but because they are natural powers of the earth. We know that the psychic, physical, spinal techniques of illumination used by yogis and mystics, technical powers that lie dormant within all of us, were first developed by women as natural modes of communication with the larger self, the earth, and the cosmos. During the later Paleolithic and throughout the Neolithic, sexual and spiritual powers were fused through the techniques of meditation, use of natural hallucinogens, and the spiraling mandalic dances of creation, dissolution within the great caves, labyrinths, and stone circles. The energies generated by these techniques became power used to the benefit of all, which is the only way power can be safely used. Ancient legends speak of the winged radiance of those who have achieved the dynamic equilibrium, the ecstatic union of the currents, which is the description of those who have raised evolutionary energy in the form of Kundalini, the cosmic serpent, up through the spinal world, tree of all manifest being, until it reaches the highest chakra of the human mind, becoming winged illumination. These beings were called the undivided ones of original Gynandrist consciousness. With such powers, perhaps mountains could be moved. Truly, great earth mounds could be built, great stones lifted and transported for miles, underground temples carved out of rock without the use of metal tools, i.e., great acts of physical construction could be performed without force or slave labor as expressions of a common consciousness and a common will. More important, acts of mental construction were performed which allowed people to live together harmoniously in meaningful and exciting intercommunication with all the creatures of Earth, Earth herself, and the energy beings of moon, sun, planets, and the stars. The time when the mountains sang and the rivers clapped hands was perhaps their numinous terrestrial time when all human beings were able to live harmoniously and consciously together as magic children within the living body of the cosmos. Perhaps we don't know. We can only look at the evidence and imagine. We know only what we can imagine. We know only that we can imagine, that we can imagine, as no other creature on earth can do, signifies our uniqueness, both its quality and its purpose. We are the imagining animals. We are the ones who participate in the Earth's evolutionary process of imagination. For what is every manifest life form and activity on Earth if not the product of Earth's imagination? Imagination, which is a form of memory moving both forward and backward in time, i.e., the creative process itself. Perhaps the greatest harm patriarchy has done to us is to stifle, co opt, and deform our powers of imagination. Moralisms, dualistic dogmas, repressive prohibitions block our imagination at its source, which is the fusion of sexual and spiritual energies. Patriarchal religions keep this fusion from happening. Imagination dies and is replaced by mechanical, linear thought patterns, i.e., indoctrination. Human beings crippled in our imaginations are no longer able to live in the terrain of dreams. Are human beings undergoing indoctrination, exploitation, colonization? Soon, the only way to get there anymore is via drugs, drunkenness, madness, or vicariously through the art and entertainment media. Patriarchy is an anti evolutionary and an anti magic force by cutting us off from our long evolutionary history, and in particular by dishonestly teaching us that our pre patriarchal ancestors were immoral savages or stupid, unrealized beings whose lives were only nasty, brutish, and short. It blocks our success to our own blood history. It cuts us off from millions of years of creative evolutionary energy stored up in our dreams, our genetic memories. Did I say dreams? It's our genes. I don't know what I said, but I said it's genes. Your genes, dreams in your genes, genes in your dreams. Okay. Our genetic memories. Yeah, that makes sense. You're dreaming about your genetics, your past, your ancestral past, your bloodline, your past lives. That's what comes up in your memories. That's what we have dreams about, especially when they feel so familiar. Just make sure you pay attention to those, okay? Especially as you're tapping into your own intuition and as we're awakening to our gifts and memories. These are going to be coming up more. Okay, you could even be having them when you're wide awake, you know. I call those open visions. So be prepared if you haven't already and don't be scared. Okay? The powerhouses of imagination. It lies to us about who we are by telling us lies about who we were. It changes us from magical to sinful in order to make us believe we need patriarchy to save us from our own selves. By cutting us off from magic as a natural property of Earth, as a conscious form of biological energy, patriarchy further tries to make us dependent upon its mechanical systems and definitions as the only modes of life that work. In its denial of magic, patriarchy creates objectivity as the only legitimate mode of knowledge. Objectivity, as we've said, is a spectator sport based upon the illusion that the observer is outside the phenomenon being observed. The objective observer denies his participation in the observed phenomenon by virtually killing it, by making it into a dead thing. Thus, all objective information is analogous to autopsy studies done on a corpse. Patriarchy has tried to render and redefine the entire earth and all its creatures as dead things in order to sustain its pretense of possessing objective information about all of us. Objective information, as um, Foucault has also shown, is merely a tool of control and exploitation. It is one of the modes of illegitimate power, otherwise known as profit. Subjectivity, we must know, is the only state of experience in the universe. The only state of experienced being is as the subject experiences itself and the world from within. How can you deny someone's experience, right? Someone's lived experience? How can you deny that? This includes the self experiencing itself, experiencing other subjective beings. There is no such thing as object because there is no thing to experience itself as object. We are only subjects with the illusion of experience other subjects as objects. The objects exist only and definitely as an aspect of the subjective consciousness, the aspect that defines me and that, and some apprehension of a border between. As quantum physics shows us, this apprehension of a border is a purely subjective one, the kind of border found in cartoons and coloring books, and in the more subtle technology of the human eye. Physically, i.e., in quantum reality, no border exists. No border exists in the reality of the spirit either, as the spirit is a conscious perception of real energy fields and interactions. The border perception is a function of the individual's experience of evolution through time and space. To initially perceive the reality of ourselves, perhaps we need the border perception. Infants with immature eyes don't have it. To begin to define the reality of the world, we need to erase it, to transcend it. Everything touches everything in the real world. There are no borders. And this is the fact upon which the validity of magic is based, i.e., to objectify us, to divide and conquer us. Patriarchy needs to insist on the reality of borders while denying the reality of magic. Only in this way can we be perpetually, intellectually, systematically separated and thus weakened, while the great healing power of our common bondedness remains repressed. This common bond is no moral sentiment or humanist ideal, but a biological and quantum fact. Its sheer power, when raised from the subliminal to the conscious level, could generate an energy more than equivalent to all the stored destruction of our bombs. For within us is the stored creativity of billions and billions of atoms. We know this. The thing that keeps us from activating our common creative evolutionary power is the perceptual and intellectual habit of separatedness, being separated, i.e., 4,000 years of patriarchal ideology. All patriarchal religions have their mystics, and many of them come forward now to offer humanity a spiritual solution to our human crisis. But all these solutions occur within the terms of the problem, i.e., they are more examples of patriarchy perpetuating itself. Male mystics within patriarchal cultures and systems can never reach a true fusion in the depths of their beings of the sexual and spiritual powers. Patriarchy's pejorative definitions of sexuality and abstract definitions of spirit prohibit this fusion. Patriarchal mystics are out of resonance with the earth spirit, with ecstasy, and with the dead. Most of all, they are out of contact with female energy, Their patriarchal worldviews are based on a biophobic denial of this creative female energy in both women and men. All of us live in societies constructed out of this denial, societies that have attempted for millennia to repress and destroy the bisexual nature of us all. In such nihilistic social energy fields, no real magic can happen. In its place, in the past 2 decades, we have witnessed and undergone many morbid, sad, and narcissistic trips. Mystics and all religious people within patriarchal systems must begin to deal honestly with the fact that patriarchy can never, ever be anything other than divided against itself. For this schizoid self-division is the basic ontological act upon which it is built. Union or fusion cannot happen within patriarchal terms. It is patriarchy, after all, which deliberately set out to banish and destroy ecstasy. What is ecstasy? It is our original state of being. It is the conscious expansion of the universe into a multitude of interconnected dimensions and forms. It is her dance of being from which all of us were born. Ecstasy is passion self-expressed through form. In the ease of earth, in the ease of earth, in the case of earth, I just love these words, y'all. These just sweet, sweet music to my ears. Recognizing and seeing the truth and then having it confirmed. In the case of Earth, human beings and all other creatures and biological and geological activities are the forms. Cosmic energy is the passion. Ecstasy is the source and reality of all we feel, see, and are. So then, why don't human beings exist in a state of constant ecstasy? If ecstasy is the inevitable expression of being a conscious form or living cell in a cosmic energy sea, why don't we cognize it or feel it? What obstructs all human beings beyond the age of 5 from knowing this experience, which is physically indigenous and ontologically rooted in the very fact of the universe existing at all? Surely we know the answer. Patriarchal systems tell us that ecstasy is impossible or wrong, except according to its terms, its alienating definitions. But ecstasy, by definition, cannot exist on patriarchal terms. Ecstasy is the complete ontological challenge to patriarchy's explanation of life, where patriarchal religions and social systems cannot wholly repress ecstasy, they demonize it. Ecstasy becomes an underground or forbidden activity, most often experienced privately, accompanied by guilt, rarely in common, accompanied by the whole world. But in and with the whole world is where we are supposed to feel it. In and with and as the whole world is where our human ecstasy is born. It is a celebration of the recognition that our spirit and flesh are one. It is a human female who was designed by evolution itself as the link between sexuality and spirit, between biological energy and the cosmic soul. It is the human female as the leading edge of earthly evolution, who was specifically neurologically structured for the experience of ecstasy. For this reason, the first religions on earth were designed by women, for women, and in celebration of femaleness. For this reason, matriarchal cultures had no reason or need to deny the other, for all otherness was a part of the mother. Mother other. In ecstasy, all otherness becomes the self, the one. Ancient women could not have invented because they had no need for paranoid divisions between psyche and body, power-hungry manipulations of spirit versus matter, dualistic exploitations of flesh versus soul. They were the undivided ones. tapping into unhindered flows of ecstatic energy, which is both spiritual and biological, of earthly soil and cosmic thought together, not needing to tell a lie at the root of things about the origin of life, not needing to maintain this lie by force day and night against the urges of all nature and its consciousness towards the truth. Women's cultures would not have needed to maintain themselves by energy repressive systems, by coercive and punitive surveillance systems based on social caste or economic status or skin color or eye color or dress. Nor would there be any need for hierarchy, organization, tyrannical terrors, or political frauds. All these patriarchal accoutrements are necessary to enforce a mechanical order in the absence of organic order. All these patriarchal machineries are necessary to enforce the repression of common ecstasy, an ecstasy indigenous to all cultures that exist to realize rather than to deny the one at the heart of all. A return to the goddess is not a backward trip through space or time. The human race cannot really return to infancy. We are too far gone for that. We return to the goddess by remembering, redefining, respelling, by turning, as in a dance, away from one gesture and towards another. Patriarchal ontology is based on a three-dimensional reality. Modern physics is showing us that the universe has not four dimensions, but as many as 11 dimensions, perhaps more. The universe is undergoing ecstatic exponential expansion into 11 or more dimensions. Surely, three-dimensional religions cannot keep us in touch with such a universe. If we do not want to die, then we must evolve. And that means we must dance, expand exponentially with the dancing cosmos. We return to the cosmos only by becoming lovers of life, rather than life's victims, warriors, and policemen. How twisted we have become within biophobic religions, spending most of our waking hours in grotesque postures of aggression, hurry, hate, self-righteousness, resentment, paranoia, and murderousness. I did it. Under the rule of the patriarchal god, we are all gargoyles, characterized by rigid poses that reveal mostly all our terrible fears and greeds, eaten away from inside by cancerous needs. To return to harmony, to return to the goddess, to become lovers of the goddess once again, we must realign our gestures into those of dancers. We must become beings who do not wish to control life, but only to listen to its music and dance it. This is not easy to do. It might be impossible, but it is our only alternative to mass death, whether by war or by total global mechanization. The patriarchal God has only one commandment: punish life for being what it is. The goddess also has only one commandment: love life, for it is what it is. Women, designed by evolution as the links between spirit and flesh, are perhaps also designed by the cosmos to lead the human world back, now, to the great celebration of the reconciliation of flesh and spirit. Thus, at the very edge of death, we will return to the beginning, that is, at the end of the world, where we must surely be. We will return to the goddess, the great mother of all life, as her magic children. In a round world, the only way for human beings to survive the end is to return to the beginning. Thus, we complete a circle, but on a spiral. We revolve to a larger circle. Now is the time to make again sacred our experience, which power, it is said, cannot truly die, since it is a real power of the real cosmos. It can't die. It can only be forgotten. That means it can also be remembered, as the serpent can be awakened from its tranced sleep at the bottom of the spine and induced to rise, to become again the luminous flying bird of the imagining mind. Once we thoroughly understand how and why patriarchy acquired its power over us, the power of an entrenched mistake over the minds and lives of all people, once we understand and feel clearly that the fight of witch women is also the fight of Earth's people everywhere against mechanical subjugation and exploitation. Once we reestablish the magic link between the individual psyche and the Earth's vital energy flow, between all evolving matter and all evolving spirit, and learn to encourage and teach others to do the same in a loving return to what we always were, perhaps then, in the final time of crisis, the serpent goddess will shake herself loose from her deep exiled sleep in the earth's belly. Perhaps the serpent of life's flowing energy will begin to rise again, all luminous and of the earth, and the children of the Great Mother will rise up with it, and the universe will be our home again as before. This flight is not an escape, but a return. The only way for human beings to survive the end is to return to the beginning. I agree 100%. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell. Appreciate all your positive comments. Keep them coming. And I'll see y'all soon. Bye-bye.